evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. 2 childcare workers accused of assaulting toddlers in foster home have been granted bail. People across the world observe COVID lockdowns while protests broke out in Spain. And South African anti-apartheid leader Desmond Tutu passed away at the age of 90. Two childcare workers who allegedly attacked toddlers inside a foster home have been granted bail, having spent Christmas in custody. The welfare minister pledged a thorough investigation and punished those responsible with the full force of the law. Isaac Lee reports.
There was brief chaos outside Hun Tong Magistracy on the afternoon of Boxing Day. 2 alleged child abusers were escorted by their family and friends, who used umbrellas to shield them from the media. The childcare workers, aged 23 and 44, were accused of willfully assaulting 2 toddlers under their care, causing them unnecessary pain. Their names were withheld by the magistracy, who identified them using their initials CWS and WKY instead. As part of their bail conditions, they have to pay a surety of $10,000 each and surrender all travel documents. They are also barred from going back to their workplace, the children's residential home, or engaging in childcare work. Their next hearing is set for February the 21st. The former employees of the Society for the Protection of Children were arrested last week over a shocking case of abuse inside the group's foster home. A nearby resident alerted authorities after witnessing toddlers being attacked by staff on the playground. A third colleague who was allegedly a bystander was also arrested. On his blog, Welfare Chief Law Chi Kwong described the incident as outrageous and heartbreaking. Those involved in the attack may have their registration revoked, he warned, meaning they will no longer be able to work in the industry. Law reiterated the government's determination to protect children, citing the ongoing legislation to compel individuals to report suspected child abuse cases. Meanwhile, lawmaker-elect for the social welfare sector Teck Chi-Yun was skeptical on whether the Society for the Protection of Children was fit to continue operating the foster home. He said the group must assure the public how they would avoid similar incidents, or hand over operational duties to other non-profit organizations. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Hong Kong has now gone 79 days without a local COVID infection, although there were 9 imported cases today. Patients arrived from the United States, South Africa, Germany, and so on. 6 of them carried mutated strains. All patients have been fully vaccinated, while one of them is a 46-year-old cabin crew member who even received a booster shot last month. His neighbors at Tower 3 of the Visionary in Tung Chung have been slapped with compulsory testing notices. A motorcyclist who is said to have only received his license was killed after he collided head-on with the car in Shek O this morning. Amateur footage showed the carnage after the accident. Both the bike and the private car burst into flames following the collision near Cape Diagula Road. Around 7 a.m., the 25-year-old motorcyclist was driving down a slope on Shek O Road. It is believed that he lost control and veered into the opposite lane and rammed into the oncoming vehicle. He later succumbed to his injuries. The car driver was unhurt and was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving causing death. Nations around the world spent Christmas under the shadow of a renewed COVID outbreaks, largely due to the highly infectious Omicron variant. Protests even broke out in Spain after authorities of Barcelona imposed strict rules just before Christmas. Winner Wong reports.
For a while, there seemed to be a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. But it soon became clear that it was going to be another atypical Christmas as the Omicron variant steamrolled its way around the world. Over in Australia, authorities in the state of New South Wales had a grim Boxing Day message for the public.
It's very clear from ICU presentations that the majority of people who are in ICU are unvaccinated. That is at a time when 95% of our people here in New South Wales have received their first dose vaccination. So the numbers don't lie. Please go out and get vaccinated.
The nation's most populous state reported a record daily uptick of over 6,300 cases. There were also restrained festivities in Europe, where the caseload has swelled due to the hyper-infectious Omicron variant. Healthcare workers in the UK added a holiday twist to an otherwise routine pandemic task. Healthcare workers at this pharmacy in Manchester dressed up for the people who came for booster shots on Christmas Day.
I just thought that it would be quite quiet today, and I was right. There was only one person ahead of me in the queue, and I wanted my booster jab, and here I am.
People are really, really appreciative of the fact that there's a service on Christmas Day, and it's obviously we're here to increase uptake in the community that we serve.
The streets of Portugal were also eerily empty after Prime Minister Antonio Costa announced a slew of new restrictions effective from midnight yesterday. Infection numbers are rising there slowly but steadily, despite a nearly 90% vaccinated population. It was a slightly different story in neighboring Spain, where hundreds of Barcelona residents took to the streets to protest against serious limitations that came into effect on Christmas Eve. They include a night curfew from 1 to 6 a.m., nightclub closures, and a 50% cap for restaurants. It's a curveball for Spaniards who had been hoping for a more relaxed Christmas, since 80% of its population of 47 million people were vaccinated. Winna Wong, HKIBC.
The Christmas celebrations continue around the world, with revelers either sharing a meal with others or taking a dip in icy waters. And in her annual Christmas broadcast, Queen Elizabeth paid tribute to her late husband, using the bulk of her speech to remember the Duke of Edinburgh, who passed away in April. In her usual soothing voice, Britain's Queen Elizabeth delivered her annual Christmas message from the White Drawing Room in Windsor Castle. But this year, her tone was a little different.
Although it's a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. This year especially, I understand why. But for me, in the months since the death of my beloved Philip, I have drawn great comfort from the warmth and affection of the many tributes to his life and work, from around the country, the Commonwealth, and the world.
Apart from displaying a framed picture of herself and her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, the Queen also donned a sapphire chrysanthemum brooch, which she had worn during their honeymoon in 1947.
And for me and my family, even with one familiar laugh missing this year, there will be joy in Christmas, as we have the chance to reminisce and see anew the wonder of the festive season through the eyes of our young children, of whom we were delighted to welcome 4 more this year. As the carol says, the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. I wish you all a very happy Christmas.
As Pope Francis prayed for an end to the COVID pandemic in his Christmas message, the Vatican also made sure those who came were taken care of. The Basilica of Santa Maria in Trastevere hosted a Christmas lunch for around 150 people, 1 year after the tradition was suspended because of COVID. Officials said takeaway meals were also offered to those who couldn't join the festivities. While most people chose to have a warm meal or hang around the fireplace during the holiday season, a group of swimmers in Siberia decided to take a dip into an icy lake. Dressed up for the occasion, about 20 mostly elderly swimmers plunged into freezing waters in Novosibirsk. They said the adrenaline rush gave them strong health and happiness, ready to ring in the new year. South Africa is mourning the death of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who passed away today at the age of 90. He was a major driving force behind his country's anti-apartheid movement and later won a Nobel Peace Prize for his contributions. Here's Yeung.
I want you to lift your hands. I want you to say, our march to freedom is unstoppable. Our march to freedom for all of us.
He was a beloved South African icon who fought passionately to end apartheid in his country. In an announcement today, President Cyril Ramaphosa said Desmond Tutu's passing was another chapter of bereavement in the nation's farewell to a generation of outstanding people who helped liberate South Africa. Tributes began pouring in as soon as the news came out.
He named wrong wherever he saw it and by whomever it was committed. He challenged the systems that demeaned humanity.
Outside his house in the town of Soweto, tourists were shocked to hear of the news.
Just been told the news that unfortunately he's passed away. I'm absolutely shocked. I've got no words. For somebody who touched so many people's lives, it's a lot. And I'd just like to say thank you for everything that he did throughout his lifetime for the people of South Africa and for everyone in the world, really.
I was not aware that he just passed. I only found out now that it's normal. It's a shock. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Friends, fellow South Africans, I ask you, welcome our brand new state president, out of the box, Nelson Mandela.
Born in 1931 in Klerksdorp, South Africa, Desmond Tutu went on to become his country's Archbishop of Cape Town, the first black African to hold the position. He, along with former President Nelson Mandela, battled tirelessly against unfair systems and oppression. Yeung, HKIBC.
Los Angeles Lakers have now lost 5 in a row following their latest defeat to the Brooklyn Nets. They are now 11.5 games behind the Golden State Warriors, who overtook the Suns for the league's best record. We all know Stephen Curry is hard to stop, especially when he seems to have taken one step too many here, although it was so fast the referee missed it. It's the third meeting between the league's top 2 teams this season, and the Warriors had the upper hand early in the game. But the Suns have won 15 in a row at home, and Chris Paul's consistent play was a big part of their success. They outscored the Warriors by 10 in the second quarter and held Curry to just 5 of 15 shooting, including 3 of 10 from distance. He had 17 points at the half, one more than Paul, who was much more efficient, going 5 of 7 from the field. Entering the fourth quarter tied at 84, the Warriors rode on Curry as they slowly pulled away. But the game was decided in the final 3 minutes when the Suns were held scoreless after this bucket from Jay Crowder. Instead of Curry, Otto Porter took over down the stretch. He scored 13 of his 19 points in the final fray as the Warriors leapfrogged their rivals to reclaim the league's top spot after the 116-107 win. The Christmas showdown continued in Los Angeles, where the Lakers hosted the Brooklyn Nets. Malik Monk returned from COVID protocol, and he was a spark off the bench. LeBron James continued to play his heart out, pouring in 22 points at the half. On the other hand, James Harden was the last of the big 3 to be still playing.
Oh, knocks down the 3 and a foul.
He had 23 points at halftime, as the Nets led by 4 entering the break. The Lakers then fell asleep in the third, falling behind by as many as 20 points as the despondent James watched on. But the Lakers mounted a huge comeback, with James's long 3 slashing their deficit to just 2 points.
LeBron James from way downtown.
Monk then tied the game on their next possession, but the Nets would walk away with the win. Nick Claxton's posted dunk over James, plus the subsequent free throw, was enough to hand the Lakers their 5th defeat in a row. On to the weather now. An intense winter monsoon triggered the first cold weather warning this winter. It will be cold and wet tomorrow with temperatures between 9 and 12 degrees. The rain will ease on Tuesday and mercury will gradually pick up again by midweek. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Boxing Day. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Thanks for watching. Good night.